Where actually is our IT department? If you're discussing IT recruitment with your clients, it's well worth understanding their approach to IT strategy from the outset. So a broad question would be, how is your IT function currently set up? Or, which elements are in-house and which elements have you offshored or outsourced? So let's get to grips with some of these ideas. As the name implies, in-house means all the majority of your IT support and administration is kept on site. This is historically the way we worked from the beginning of IT and for many decades thereafter, and parodied beautifully in the comedy series The IT Crowd. This is a setup from the times when internet speeds and cloud technology were nowhere near where we are today. So in those days, it made sense to purchase your own hardware, be they servers or PCs. It made sense to be in control of your own software application licenses, which you would buy in the form of CDs or DVDs. It was up to you to beef up your own storage as your data needs grew. So of course, in this setup, you also needed a competent group of technical people who could do all of this for you. People who could look after this entire setup. People who could advise on the hardware needs and purchase and install new servers as and when the technology became outdated. And that technology did become outdated quite quickly and on a fairly frequent basis. This group of people would also know how to install and update operating systems and take care of your applications. They were the only ones who seemed to know about these new things called viruses, which the computers of the day seemed to be catching. And so they were also given the responsibility of this new growing area known as IT security. This group of people came to be known as the IT department. And what we described there is an in-house IT department. In essence, the company itself has taken on the whole responsibility of all elements of its IT. If it turns out that your IT department is not as competent as they should have been, then you'll soon find out when the next virus hits, or when competitors are quicker out of the blocks to take advantage of the latest trends in technology. But then, as internet bandwidth grew and cloud technology started to take off, companies started to realize that they could relinquish some of the perennial headaches, or at least offset some of the costs of maintaining their own IT architecture. The idea of offshoring started to take off. And what offshoring means is to take advantage of the considerable cost savings of setting up elements of your IT in distant lands. Places like India, China, Malaysia, and Latin America became the epicenters of offshoring activity. Here, companies from Europe and the United States could find an eager, well-educated young workforce who could quite happily jump in and take over many of the IT responsibilities that you were taking care of, but at a fraction of the cost of doing it on home soil. Not only were labor costs slashed, but by spreading the IT function globally across a number of offshore sites, businesses found that they could reduce many of the risks of being localized. And you could have 24/7 availability of sales, support, and many other critical IT capabilities. So large companies such as banks and other blue chips would simply offshore under their own banner, effectively going out to those countries and setting up outposts where locals could be hired under their own brand. Small to medium-sized companies, on the other hand, could go further and simply relinquish responsibility to another level. And this would be known as outsourcing. It turned out that many companies didn't want any of the headaches of running an outpost in that far off land, but they still wanted to reap the benefits of the skilled labor force at the other end at a much reduced cost. In this situation, if you are willing to forego another level of ownership of control and headache, you may simply want to outsource elements of your IT. So outsourcing is utilizing a separate third-party company to take care of elements of your IT setup. Notably, but not exclusively, things like your payroll and your IT help desk. The benefits of outsourcing are clear in that you have core elements of your business being taken care of by companies who are specialists in this area, yet who can do it at a fraction of the cost that you could achieve at home. The downsides are there too, however, in that you are not the outsourced company's sole client, and in certain situations you may be relegated to a lower level of priority in terms of delivery. These companies are also by definition going to be based in some of the poorer or developing nations of the world. Communication may become an issue, and even data privacy of your most valuable assets may be compromised without your direct supervision. Even things like geopolitical stability and local political changes may mean that a key element of your IT might be rendered useless overnight without your control. Let's now head on over to another element that is affecting IT departments around the world, and that is the migration over to cloud of many of their IT assets. Let's go there now.